Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome this evening. We've got a lot of wonderful business to do tonight, so we're going to get the meeting started. This is the Wednesday, February 26, 2025, meeting of the Board of Education for Community Consolidated School District 46, beginning now at 6 p.m. here at Frederick School. I need a roll call to order, please.
Mack.
Here.
Braden. Here. Nash. Absent. Albert.
Here.
LaCroix.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
And Weedman.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. Please join me for the pledge. So this first, then sustainability, then math. Okay, I would also like to take an opportunity to welcome our two student board members this evening to the board table. Abhinav Vinod and Julia League, welcome to the board table this evening. We look forward to hearing the presentation from Park School later on. I need a motion to approve this evening's agenda, please.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Okay.
Miller.
Aye.
Mack.
Aye.
Albert.
Aye.
Weedman.
Aye.
Braden.
Aye.
And LaCroix.
Aye.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Do we have any public comments, Dr. Volk? No. No, okay. Moving right on to the fun part of the early part of the meeting, we are recognizing this evening the Park Campus 7th and 8th grade boys basketball conference champions. So welcome everybody, and I'm going to hand it over to, yes, Coach.
We are very proud of these boys and their hard work. They placed first in the conference championship games, and they are great players. Ashton Moyer, Caleb St. Louis, Gus Brunmeyer, Nolan Ford, James Lucas, Jason Lucas, Patrick Kowaleski, Rylan McGrath, Channing Otterson, Finn Lehman, Landon Michael, Colin Kolesiak, Tyler Sivelik, Jackson Brown, Kai Carden, Patrick Klauser, Ricky Deschamps, Owen Durlack, Verton Freeman, Matthew Grant, Luke Jones, Chase Kenya, Alex Lewandowski, Brian Monzanga, Aiden Moyer, Marco Antonio Perez, Jace Reyes, and Juan Santana.
Congratulations on an awesome season. We do have some awards for you up here, so if you would all make your way up here to get your ribbon. And we'll do a picture, yes, we'll do a picture. Okay. Board member, please stand.
And we'd also like to thank the coach, Mrs. Pliego, for a wonderful season. We know that every great athlete needs a great coach, so thank you for your work as well. All right. Park athletes and parents, you are very welcome to stay for the rest of the evening. We will also understand if that is not on your agenda for the evening. So we'll take, oh, we have a couple, oh, wait, we got 2 more athletes. Come on up. All right. We understand if that's not on your agenda this evening, so we will take a moment to let people take their leave before we continue with our meeting.
Thank you.
Park campus leader of the PACs, and then math. Oh, she's doing.
Okay, we've got a little bit of a change in the agenda this evening just to make sure that we appropriately fit all of the topics in this evening. So we're going to move to actually a sustainability workshop that is scheduled for this evening, which is about 20 minutes of conversation, which is now, then we will move to the presentation of the math curriculum to the board. Then we will move to the Park Campus Leader of the PAC presentation. I think I have that right. I think so, okay. For this, though, I do need to get a motion to suspend the Roberts Rules of Regular Board Meeting Order. That would be something the high school students would probably want to write down, because we're suspending the rules of the meeting to move into a non-meeting agenda item. Okay, so I need a motion to suspend Roberts Rules of Order
So moved.
to move into the sustainability workshop.
So moved.
I will second.
Okay.
Miller,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
Albert,
Aye.
Weedman,
Aye.
Braden. Aye. And LaCroy.
Aye.
And just for your teacher, we don't often do that, so this is a unique meeting. So, okay. I'm going to hand it over to Mrs. Miller and Mrs. Albert. Or just
Okay.
Mrs. Miller.
Thank you. Go ahead, Jess. No, just kidding. So there are more people in this room than I was expecting. So we're going to shift out of this room into the library, and that way all of us can circulate. I'll tell you why in just a minute. For the last hour, we have met as a sustainability task force, and we are charged with a few different things. Tonight's job was to define sustainability really by looking at what exists in the district right now. And the task force split into 4 groups, and they took 4 different themes and did 3 things. Let me back up. They actually did 1 thing, and it has 3 components. All right, so the 4 groups are land use, resource conservation, organizational systems and structures, and renewable energy. So in just a minute, I'm going to ask you to go take a look at what they came up with. We had not very much time. Please don't expect very fancy displays with really accurate data. This is really just a first pass at this work. So please, adjust your expectations. But I'm going to ask that everyone go into that room and then take 1 of 3 items, and they will be circulating. There's different people who have them. I have the Post-its and pens. So if you have a question or an insight or something you've been dying to tell the board about sustainability, and it fits into one of those categories, you can write it down on a Post-it, grab a pen, stick it on that board, right? And then the other thing is look for money. There is an envelope taped to each of those posters. And we're going to ask you to adopt the persona of donors. If you were donating to the district, where would you want your money to go? This, of course, is not real money. Someone just asked me if it was, but there's people out there who have stacks of money to give you. Wow. So go ahead and do that. And then there's also paper clips, and I'm hoping those will be enough. You're going to have to stretch with me on this. The paper clip represents time. So if you wanted to donate time to that initiative, put a paper clip in. I use paper clips because they're reusable, so it's sustainable. All right, we have now maybe 17 minutes to do this.
18 minutes.
18 minutes, thank you. So if you don't get to every board, that's totally fine, but just give us the feedback that you can in the time that we have. Is there a light switch in the library that I can flick to let everyone know?
We'll just say.
I will stand on a chair and start yelling. So when you hear me, please come back in here because we have a very full agenda.
And Mrs. Miller, I was the one who asked about the real $100 bills. I was trying for all of you, but I failed. I'm sorry.
As we're going into another room, for the purpose of people who are watching the stream or are recording in the future, we're going to just go ahead and suspend the streaming for the next 18 minutes or so while this is going on.
Great, thank you. Did I miss anything? Is it clear? You're going to look at posters and give us feedback in 3 ways: money, Post-it, and paperclip. All right, let's go. We have
Okay, thank you, everybody, for participating in that very important work that the Sustainability Committee is working on. We are now unsuspended, so we're moving back into the regular meeting. And a reminder for Mrs. Miller, if you have any of the fake $100 bills, the Post-it notes or pens, please return them to her or leave them up on the table over here at the end, down by Dr. Wolk there, just so that she can get her resources back, okay? At this point now, we're going to be moving on to the Park Campus, leader of the pack. We've made a slight adjustment once more to the, well, you didn't see that, we did it, and we're back to the leader of the pack. We've got a couple families that do have to leave, so we want to make sure that we're honoring the Park Campus leaders tonight. So I'm going to hand that over to them for the evening. Yes.
Hello, thank you for inviting us back to your board meeting. I'm Jen Voss. I am the Dean of Students at Park Campus, along with the sponsor for our Leader of the Pack. We'd like to say thank you to the Board of Education, Dr. Glickman, Mrs. Gluck, and the D46 community for inviting us back today.
Leader of the Pack consists of 7 Help Better Park Campus.
Leader of the Pack has been involved in many activities at Park. Some of our highlights are the Veterans Day Assembly, all school-wide bingo, donut day, helping at concessions, and broadcast announcements.
At Park School, we started composting during our lunches. Composting is a simple way to significantly reduce the amount of waste that ends up in landfill. This helps kids learn how to recycle, compost, or trash. Composting is an important way to help reduce waste that goes into our landfills. All students K through 8 plus teachers are participating.
Our second activity for the No Place for Hate initiative involved each grade level being assigned a special children's book. These books were thoughtfully chosen to highlight themes of inclusion, diversity, and the uniqueness of every individual. After each story, students participated in a variety of activities designed to deepen their understanding of these themes. To make the lessons even more memorable, each class also created an art project that illustrated the beauty of togetherness. Through these activities, we strengthened our commitment to being inclusive and supportive of one another.
Here are some upcoming plans for Leader of the Pack. PBIS lesson. We will be going into the K through 4 classrooms to teach read books and help the classroom teachers with PBIS-SCEL lessons. School store. Continue filling pop print orders and finding new items for the store. We have already filled 258 orders. Helping at PTO events, running concessions, tickets, and games.
We would like to thank the Board of Education, Dr. Glickman, Mrs. Gluck, Mr. Malamed, Mrs. Morales, and the D46 community for allowing us this time to share with you our celebrations and our upcoming plans for Park Campus. We look forward to seeing you in April.
Thank you, Park Campus leaders, for a wonderful presentation. I know I often speak on behalf of the board that we're always interested in the leadership that you show in this work. And we're just wondering, and we tend to ask this question once in a while. I'm going to ask you a quick question. What is some of the leadership qualities that you feel that you're gaining from this experience? We hear from a wide variety of group of students, and we're always interested in what's something that you have pulled away from this work that you're doing.
I definitely think it's helped me definitely publicly speak, and it helps me like think about the things that we need to teach kids, because they're definitely like our future, and I definitely want to help a lot of kids learn things.
We're a shy bunch tonight.
That's every time I sit down at this board table, I get nervous. So it gets better, but it hasn't gone away from me. So but this work is good. So thank you very, very much.
I was going to say, Beth, this was a bigger group than you expected, and you did a great job a great job. It takes a lot to stand up in front of a group this big, so congratulations.
And before we move on, I wanted just a comment, since one of the initiatives that you spoke about was composting. We actually have here in the audience tonight our resource conservation volunteer, Abby Petrozinski. And so, Abby, thank you for getting that going at Park Campus and all across the district. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very, very much. Okay, that moves us on to another big presentation this evening, which is the math curriculum presentation. So I will hand that over to Mrs. Gluck and her team.
Are you just standing in order? No. Okay. Good evening. We are really excited to be here this evening to share our math resource recommendations with you. Before we get started, we do have some of our PDT members with us, so I'm going to have them introduce themselves and tell you what school they're at and what position they hold.
I'm Leanne Salas, and I'm the, sorry. We have to pull that down. I'm Leanne Salas, and I'm the instructional coach at Meadowview.
Katia Quadro, 4th grade teacher at Park. Jamie Parker, District TOSA.
Becky Wilson, 1st grade teacher at Meadowview.
Jill Wahlberg, 3rd grade at Prairie View.
Lisa Boxer, 5th grade at Frederick.
Annie Schultz, and I'm 3rd grade at Avon.
Kelly Kurzweil, instructional coach at Park.
Amy Forrest, 7th and 8th grade math specialist at GMS.
They aren't all going to be speaking tonight, so I wanted to make sure that they were able to introduce themselves as well. So, as I said, we are excited to share with you our math recommendation. And as we're considering everything that we're talking about with these math resources, they are both going to be empowering our learners in lots of different ways that we'll be explaining to you, creating equity within our classrooms and cultivating our community as they bring in real world problem solving. So really excited that it matches everything within our mission. As we're talking about this resource tonight, we're talking about two different goals of our strategic plan goals, and then also one of our board policies. Fits within our curriculum goals, so reviewing and updating teaching, learning, and assessment practices, looking at materials through an equity lens, which was very much a part of our process as we were having conversations. And then our finance goals, so we were looking at how do we review, expand, and clarify financial practices to increase transparency and communication as we're aligning our financial decision making. I'm going to have a lot of slides about financial decision making at the end, so I'll get to that one. And then this aligns to our board policy 6:40, which is our curriculum development and adoption. So, as I shared, these are some of our PDT members, our planning and design team. I want to talk a little bit about what that process looked like. This team met together for the last year and a half. In order to determine who was on the PDT, we sought volunteers from within the district. We were able to get representation from all of our buildings, as well as many grade levels as we could. So that was really important to us, so we had lots of voices in the room as we were having conversations. Once that PDT was created, we had multiple meetings that were scheduled across all of last school year, and then so far this school year, our last meeting was in January. Within those meetings, we revised our math vision and belief statements, which you'll see in a few minutes. We then created a needs assessment as a PDT. That needs assessment then solicited feedback from the district staff. From that needs assessment, we were able to see what was important to the staff in whatever resource we were going to be bringing to you, and wanted to make sure that aligned. From that needs assessment, we then developed a rubric that we were going to be using to assess the resources, I guess, as we were looking at them. We used ed reports to really look at what aligned to that needs assessment, what were highly rated programs that were out there and resources that were out there. And then we initially reviewed 9 programs that met all of that criteria. From that, we then chose 3 to look at more in depth. Those vendors came to us and gave us some presentations. We then also had the materials physically on hand and went through them, looked at the materials. And then the last piece that we added this year is we went on site visits. So we went to other districts that are using the resources that we were looking at to see them in action in classrooms, to see how students were responding, and then also seeking feedback from some of those staff. So a really long process to get to this point. I'm not going to read all these names to you, but here you can see these are the K-5 math PDT members. We met together last year as K-8, and then this year split off into K-5 and 6-8. So as you can see, we had representation from all our buildings at K-5, and then these were our 6-8 PDT members. So important for us to be looking at, and one, also thank all of these people for their time. It was time out of their classrooms and away from their students to be able to help us to have these conversations and help to make these decisions. So we absolutely appreciate their input. And I'm going to turn this over to Leanne.
So as was stated before, we did revise our math instruction vision, and we did this as an entire PDT, so the K-8 teachers got together and we had lots of rich discussions, and we came up with this as our vision for our mathematics instruction. To cultivate classroom communities where all students confidently engage in problem solving, to develop their mathematical practices, build a deep understanding of mathematical concepts, actively solve complex problems using multiple strategies, apply their knowledge to real-world situations, and foster a love of learning and growth mindset. We also discussed our beliefs about math instruction, and we came up with 5 core beliefs. We believe that all students should meet or exceed grade level priority standards. We believe that teachers should extend and intervene where needed. We believe in providing a rigorous learning experience for all students. We believe in developing procedural skills along with a deep understanding of underlying principles. And we believe that all students have the potential to be confident mathematicians.
So some additional information that's important for you to know is that our last math adoption was approved in 2019. One of our programs that we are currently using was we started using in 2017, so even 2 years before that. As we were looking at what resources met our needs, we wanted to ensure that any resource that we were looking at came in both Spanish and English so that we could support all of our students and all of our programming. We also knew, just from being through adoptions before, that no program is going to meet every single need that was requested from the staff. But we wanted to meet as many as we could, and we feel that the 2 we're bringing to you tonight do that. We also know that professional development, anytime we implement something new, is incredibly important, and that we need to have sustained professional development for our staff in order to help to support the implementation within our classrooms. And so we've had conversation about what that's going to look like, and we'll talk about a bit about that in next steps. And then we also know that whichever the resources that we're bringing to you, those will be used for core instruction, and those align to our state standards. So that was all really important to us as we were looking for a resource.
With all of that being said, K through 5 is recommending Imagine Learning IM. Yay! It's over here. And thank you. And then our PDT members had some feedback that I'm not going to read it all to you, but I'm just going to give you some thoughts from it. Is that we're really excited about the hands-on curriculum. It's very student-centered. There is a lot of real-world problems and a lot of conceptual understanding that they have to do. When we went on our site visit, we saw little kids, little kindergartners saying some really great things using math language and doing things that we were impressed with. So we're excited about it.
So going off of that, some of the deciding factors that led us towards this recommendation, we felt like it really had a good balance between math procedures and conceptual understanding that go with our Illinois learning standards. We felt that Imagine IM really got students hands-on and exploring themselves versus teachers kind of directing them where to go. It's a lot of exploration and then tying it back to the math concepts. The assessments we felt really aligned with our goals and our priority standards, and then the real-world application, teaching students why it matters and when they're going to use this math in their real life.
So some of the components for students that we're very excited about, they have really nice student editions. And what we really like about these is there's a lot of great space for them to work out problems, and you'll notice in them that it's asking the students to explain or show their understanding, which is something that is so necessary in math. And so we really liked that part of the lessons, and all the lessons start with a what do you notice, what do you wonder, which is something that's another great way to start a math lesson. There's great digital access, and there's interactive student activities that are online, but there's also so much of the student work is done together, collaborating and talking about math, which is so important. And then for staff, there's really nice teacher editions that are printed, but then the digital access is also will be really helpful. There's presentation slides, which a lot of us use anyway, but we right now we make them ourselves, and so these come with the program, and they have teacher instructions, and so it's really user friendly. And there's also assessments that can be edited, which is nice too. That's a new feature that we're not used to. And so there's just so many parts to it that we're really excited about, and we know it'll be an easy way to bring it to our teachers because they're going to be excited about all these new resources too.
The 6-8 Math PDT is excited to bring Amplify Desmos to the board for recommendation. It is also over here. Some of the highlights from this program and feedback that the PDT members gave, they were excited again to see that student-centered learning opportunities were embedded in problem-solving based activities. Lots of collaborative discussion and engaging digital activities for our middle school students, while providing entry points for students at all levels, which we really appreciated. Another big part that the PDT really liked was that the Desmos calculator is something that's being used by District 127 at the high school level. So our students will be exposed to that during their time in middle school, which will hopefully provide a seamless transition as they move into the high school.
Okay, so how does this program meet our needs? We found that it really presented the balance between mathematical procedures and the deep conceptual understanding from our standards, so that was huge. Lots of opportunities for differentiation, which included the reteaching, extension, and small group instruction. Several activities that are available for both enrichment and intervention and remediation. The whole real world situations, because what we deal with a lot in the middle school is, why do we need to do this? So there's a lot of that where we don't have to be that creative. Inquiry-based learning opportunities, engaging hands-on experiences, and then lots of that student collaboration.
So some of the great features, the program components for our students, there are printed student editions that every student will receive. There's a lot of great digital access that is student-friendly, as well as interactive student activities that go hand in hand. This program is wonderful because it does say when there's opportunities for collaboration to work within groups, work within pairs, but there's also when they need to be working independently as well to foster that love of learning and mathematical thinking. We also have responsive feedback in real time. There's wonderful, again, collaborative tools built right into the program, and it does boost that personalized learning opportunities for our students. As far as the needs of our staff for program components that will be available, each teacher will have their printed teacher edition. They'll also have digital access to planning and instructional resources. It's very user-friendly, which is great. The presentations, same as IM, they offer for teachers to have those presentations available. And then we have the facilitation and progress monitoring tools that are built into the program for our formative and summative assessments, as well as a reporting suite, so we can use that data to inform our instruction. And then we also have intervention and extension resources available.
So before I talk about PD, one of the other things I want to talk about with Amplify is they also had for us not just 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, but also Algebra 1. And so we felt that was really important for our advanced class because that's what we're teaching, is Algebra 1. And then it has a big connection to what's happening at the high school. So we've been in collaboration, regular collaboration with District 127 recently, really over through this whole process to talk about what are they implementing in math. They have been utilizing building thinking classrooms within their math classrooms, and that is really about having students have collaborative conversations about math. That is one of the things that as we talked to a District 127 that they wanted to see more of coming from our students, and so both of these resources are going to prepare our students to be able to do that. So we're really excited about that. So, professional development is, as I said, really important. Once pending approval, we want to move pretty quickly and start professional development right away this spring. And so we would start at our late starts in April and May, providing some training for our staff to be able to see the materials, to be able to start getting into some demo accounts and really start to get used to the language and some of the structures of both resources. In addition to that, as you know, in our schedule next year, instead of late starts, we have early release time. And that time, those half days, we would be able to utilize some of those as well for some deep professional development and support related to implementation. We may also have to provide some release time for teams if they would like that as well to support that during the school year next year. Math teachers will also receive support from building instructional coaches. Both programs talked to us about a train-the-trainer model for training instructional coaches to then be able to really deeply support our staff within the buildings in addition to helping to provide some professional development from the companies themselves. And then Amplify, which is the 6-8, actually has ongoing coaching that they would come in to be able to support us on site as well. So lots of PD that's coming with this. So the important parts that I said I was going to talk about, and these are the costs and all the financial pieces of this. We had a lot of considerations as we were considering costs of the programs. The first is that what we know from all of these vendors is that there are contract breaks or breaks in pricing when you purchase a multi-year contract. And so that was something that we looked at and we considered as we were looking at the different years, the number of years that we would be looking at keeping or recommending a resource. We also were looking at different funding sources within our budget to be able to determine how we could sustain this, and then also looking at any additional pieces such as materials and professional development for our program assistants as well. I know we've been spending a lot of time talking about how are we going to support our program assistants who are supporting our students, and so that is something that we also built into this recommendation. So what are the costs? So this is Imagine Learning, IM. You have the full quotes, so you can look at more detail, but this is for a 4-year contract. The student access includes the consumable workbook, which was shown to you, and then that digital license, which has some videos and virtual manipulatives, also digital centers and digital practice assessment and some more things as well. That teacher access has the print teacher edition, there's print teacher resources, and then also a digital materials, a digital dashboard that includes unit launch videos for their classrooms, assignable lessons, and assignable assessments, which was something that was important to the PDT, and then also opportunities for teaching notes. The cost for this is, and I'll talk about how this is going to break down in a minute, but the cost for this one is $467,992 for that 4-year purchase. So how does that break down per person? It looks like what's up here. You can see kindergarten's a little bit less for staff, but overall students are about the same. So then I also, because I wanted to do the breakdown per person right back to back, so we have here the cost of breakdown per person for the 6-8 for Amplify. Their rationale for the Spanish being a little bit more expensive is that they produce fewer of those, and so because they're not making such mass numbers, the cost is a little bit higher. Our funding sources, going back to IM, so we will be looking at 2/3 of this about in that our 25-26 budget, so next year's budget, from the teaching and learning budget, and then the remaining funds would be from the 26-27 budget. The reason that it's not split 50-50 is they have asked for all of the digital licenses to be paid up front. So that is what's at the top end, and then the rest is what is coming behind that. So the breakdown of the Amplify costs it's the student materials, so it's 4 years, again, of student access. Again, it has that consumable workbook, has the digital workbook and materials, multimedia investigations and practice. Also, the 4 years of teacher access has the teacher edition, the digital materials, and then an assessment suite, which again allows for some manipulation of those assessments from the teachers. And then also has that implementation and ongoing coaching support as part of that cost as well. The 4 years from Amplify is $336,097. So that is what that, and the funding sources look a little bit different for this one. We have $100,000 that we're going to do from this year's budget that I still have remaining from this year's budget. The $209,397 is going to come from the teaching and learning budget for from the 25-26 school year. And then the PD is what is in that Title II funding. So we have the $7,400 coming from this year's Title II funding, and then the $19,300 coming from next year's Title II. So what are our next steps? All of these materials are on public review right now. And they'll be here until March 19th, until that board meeting. So they will be available for anyone to come to look through them, to be able to see them. We have told staff that from the buildings that if they are interested in having some of those as well, some of the PDT members asked us if we could bring some over to the buildings to look at too. So we're going to have those available for staff. But if on public review, if someone wants to make an appointment to look through them and look through any of the materials, you can do so by contacting Amanda Woodruff. And then we are going to bring this back to the March 19th board meeting to request approval for the purchases. And then pending approval, we're going to start hitting the ground running with PD. In June, once the school year is over, we'll have disposal of the old materials. So we usually typically go through donations, gifting, and recycling of those materials. Some of the math manipulatives that we have in the building, we're going to keep and use with the new program. So we're repurposing some of the materials that we have. And then in July, we should receive any new materials. And that brings us to the end of our presentation. What questions and comments you have?
Thank you very much. I open it up to the board. Any questions from board members? Mr. Weedman?
I have a couple for you. So at the end of 4 years with these programs, is the option to continue with these programs, or are you going to be looking for a newer program? Or with that being said, is it less expensive for renewal? Like we're only renewing the licenses and we got to get all the materials?
Great question. So most of the time, we would look at renewing as long as we're like what we've been seeing over the last 4 years. Most of the time when you renew, you have to just renew their licenses. The print materials don't typically in a 4-year period change drastically. The student workbooks are consumables, so we would have to continue to cover those. The way that the vendors set it up is that when they give you a 4-year cost, they like everything up front. So we worked with them to work it out into 2 years, but yeah, we would be looking at renewing as long as everything's going the way we liked, which is what we did with our 2 current programs. After their first initial adoption, we renewed them.
Okay.
I just want to jump in. What Amy didn't show you is what the costs were before she negotiated them down. So, you know, I joke, board, you've heard me say before that I'd like to take her with me the next time I go to buy a car, and I'm really not kidding. So, really, she's a wonderful negotiator. They were much higher, and thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you for negotiating. Very much appreciate that. You're welcome. So I have a question, but the question is really an image, so I'm just going to paint in the air here. So I heard that there are multiple pathways in to this math curriculum at both levels, both the Imagine and the 6-8. And I'm curious about the pathways out as they connect to 127. I think I heard you say there's been a lot of intentional articulation with the high school district, and I heard that collaboration is one of those goals. I'm specifically wondering, is there a pathway is there an intact pathway for kids who want to, I think it's called BC Math? I've been approached by a few different.
So that's not something they take in ninth grade. That's something they would
No.
take eventually.
Right,
Yes.
right, eventually, but it leads into college admissions too. So is there a track that allows students to do that?
Yeah, so some of the high school placement is done by the high school, right?
Sure.
So when our students, I'm going to kind of back up a little bit to freshman year.
Yeah.
When our students complete Algebra 1 here, so if they're in our advanced level course, they are most of the time, not always, but most of the time eligible to go into either Geometry Honors or AAT, which is Advanced Algebra Trig. From that, those two pathways lead down towards what you're talking about.
Okay.
So we have had lots of conversation about, and in fact, at our, Amy, was it December late start? And Lisa? I think it was December late start. At one of our late starts, we had 127 came to our late start because they also have late start on Wednesdays, and we had a whole conversation about pathways. So they actually explained to us some of the changes that they're looking at in their pathways as well that give more kids more opportunities to take higher level courses when they are reaching out to do that.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that.
Oh, you can go first. Okay, all right. I'm just curious, what is a Desmos calculator?
Yeah, do you guys want to explain it? Kelly or Amy?
Well, I actually don't, because my students don't use it as often, but it's very complex, very scary, and I mean, where's Jen? It's scary for me because it's a little bit over my head, but it just does like all this graphic. Jen, do you want to come up? Because I mean, you've really done it in your classroom.
I could explain it too, but I'm
Yeah.
gonna let them.
Put on the spot.
No, I
Can't too. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah, do you want to explain it?
So my math teacher explained it to me and how we used it, and I use it to help me with my homework and my tests, because we are allowed, and it's supposed to be the same calculators as the calculators that are on the state IAR testing, so that we know how to use those IAR tests calculators. And if you forget a calculator, we can always go on our Chromebook and search it out.
Yeah, so it's on it. I can let you explain a little bit more too, but it's right on their Chromebook. So they have access to be able to use it. And I know the high school is using them a lot.
Yeah. So prior to being the dean, I was an 8th grade math teacher at Park, and we used Desmos a lot when we did graphing calculators and being able to graph line equations, parabolas. They're able to solve for x on there, so they can do all their algebraic equations on Desmos. As probably the high school kids can attest, they also use it for like finding sine, cosine, and tangent. So those advanced classes you were talking about, you know, on their pathway, they're able to use that. So it's actually very useful for kids at 6th grade level who maybe are adding fractions, right, Mrs. Boxer, and then all the way up to some of these advanced programs. But it's all done there instead of having that $90 graphing calculator that you'd buy at Target every year and can never find. This is free because it's an online thing. Online, they can actually use it in college too. So I know some of the kids that I help tutor at the high school, they're constantly using it. It's actually a really useful tool for the kids, and it's much more advanced than some of the yellow ones that we have in our district. Hope that helps.
Yeah.
You mentioned one of the considerations of cost was to make sure that you had license and materials for support staff. Is that to imply then that anyone who might possibly conceivably have the reason to have an intervention with a math student you have enough licenses and materials for all those people who would be possibly engaging with students in math?
Yes.
Okay.
Fast answer, yes.
Yeah, that's,
Before you all go, board, any other comments, from board members? Okay, I just wanted to take a moment to thank our teachers. First of all, this was a really slow process. You took your time on this and really didn't rush. I know that was because you care so much about the instruction that you're giving to our students, and it wasn't an easy decision. It's also not easy to be out of your classrooms. Even, you have to plan for substitutes. We understand that. We thank you for your careful deliberation along with this outstanding presentation. I'm really excited to see it, so thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Okay, that brings us to our the board report portion of this evening's meeting. I'll pass it along to my fellow board members. Mr. Weedman, have any board reports? No. Mrs. Miller?
I do not, nope.
I do not have a board report this evening. Mrs. Braden?
No board report for me.
Mr. LaCroix? Mrs. Oh.
Yes. So I want to make a public congratulations to Mrs. Morgan for her February 12th recognition by the Lake County Forest Preserves Board for her leadership and collaboration with the Lake County Forest Preserves for the past 9 years to bring essential environmental education to students in our district. John Wasik, our District 6 Lake County Board member, wrote about Mrs. Morgan in his District Lake County Board newsletter published on February 12th. And he not only thanked Mrs. Morgan, but he also thanked Dr. Glickman, our D46 administration, board members, and importantly, teachers, students, and parents. And in his words, he said, "It takes more than a village to green a community. District 46 has set a prime example through its curriculum and leadership." So just wanted to make sure that a lot of people knew about that recognition. And then secondly, I did attend the IASB Governmental Relations Team webinar that they offer, I think about monthly. The one on February 7th was prior to the governor's budget address. There's another one coming up March 14th, and they think they'll have a better idea of what's going to actually move and not move legislatively. They talked a little bit about the mandated categoricals, I remember. That has been talked about before at this table. So just wanted to put that on your radar, that I find them helpful. So.
Thank you. I also would like to invite our student board members to share this evening since you are seated at the board table, so I'll pass it along to you as well.
For our update, we have our K through 4th teachers are hard at work preparing for our author visit. Alex Willen to Park Campus on Friday, February 28th. Students had a contest to design the next book cover for our yearbook, and teachers were able to vote. We do not have the result yet, but we will know soon. Teachers and students continue to work on the No Place for Hate campaign, reminding each other about kindness, acceptance through our monthly SEL theme of mindfulness.
Our 5th through 8th grade teachers have started to prepare for IAR testing, doing sample problems and discussions during win time. Teachers have also continued the No Place for Hate campaign, doing our mindfulness SEL lessons. All grades have started composting during lunches, which helps teach us about how we can play an important role in saving the environment.
Thank you, board members. We appreciate you sitting at the table with us this evening and for your leadership in your schools. Thank you very much. That concludes the board report section of our agenda, and I'll pass it over to Dr. Glickman for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Mack. I too would like to welcome our park students to the board table. It's always a real pleasure to have you here. I also want to welcome some high school students. Are you all from North or you're from Central? We're always glad when we have students here at in the boardroom. I'm going to make a guess that maybe a little birdie told you that we were welcoming some new administrators tonight and there would be cake. Am I right? Okay, so we will be having a cake break in a little bit, and you're here for it. I'm going to hand this over to Mrs. Gluck to talk about Institute Day that we had recently.
Yeah, good evening again. So we had Institute Day on February 14th on Valentine's Day, just a couple weeks ago. And it was the Lake County Regional Office of Education held this Institute Day for participants. And there were two sites. So our kindergarten, pre-K through 5th grade was at Lakes High School, and 6th through 12th grade was at Mundelein High School. And I am excited to share with you that we had at the Institute Day 8 different presentation topics that were provided by District 46 staff. So we're super excited about that. So, and if you'll bear with me, I'm going to read off who they were and what their topics were. So, Ruth Geisen presented on the Rebecca Cottle Young Readers Book Award nominees. Yvonne Schmidt and Jennifer Everett did a session on aligning Common Core standards with student interests related to literacy. Andrew Friesma and Nicole Blackburn presented on teaching math through problem solving to promote student achievement. Lizzie Scott presented on Math Talks. Michelle Williams presented on nutrition for health teachers, so not just nutrition. Michelle Williams also presented on incorporating yoga and mindfulness into the classroom. We had Lizzie Scott, Katia Quadro, she's still here, she might have just left. Alexis Martineau presented on student intervention, and Michelle Knott, Angie Week, and Leanne Salas, who is still here, presented on building our classroom library. So really excited that we had all of these presentations from to showcase our district.
And Mrs. Gluck, did teachers have to present?
They do not. So they volunteered to present. They had to write a proposal, submit their proposal, and then were accepted by the Lake County ROE to present sessions.
I'm sorry for that moment of theater, but I just wanted to make it clear that these are just examples of our professional staff, and we're really, really proud. And it was really exciting to have so many of our outstanding staff members presenting to educators throughout Lake County about what we're doing here in District 46. And then I'm just going to end with something fun, which is that last Friday night was the Route 83 Showdown, which was the GMS basketball adult players versus the Frederick basketball adult players. It was a fundraiser for the PTOs for both of those schools. It was really fun. There were some injuries, but we're moving on from that. Because we work hard, as has just been shared, and we play hard too. But it was really a fun night, and that is the end of the superintendent's report this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Glickman. Okay, I need a motion to approve this evening's consent agenda, please, which includes the personnel addendum, the updated one that came earlier this evening.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay.
Braden?
Aye.
LaCroix?
Aye.
Albert?
Aye.
Miller? Aye. Mack?
Aye.
And Weedman?
Aye.
Okay, consent agenda is approved. We have a lengthy action item list this evening, so we're going to start. I need a motion from the board to approve the resignation of Dr. Stephanie Diaz, Director of Multilingual Services, effective the end of the business day on February 28th, 2025, with thanks from the board for her long service to District 46.
I'll move.
I'll second.
and I just wanted to share a little information. First of all, if anyone is looking at our agenda, just to clarify, we have moved some of our action items around a little bit so that we're talking about all of our staff member topics first, and then we're going to take that cake break, and then we'll finish the rest. So we are really very sorry to be losing Dr. Diaz, but we're really excited for her and actually for students and families across the state of Illinois, because she was offered a position at the Illinois State Board of Education in the multilingual department. She's going to be focusing on grants, tactics, guidance, documents, and migrant students. And in this way, she will continue supporting families in our community as well as the multilingual community statewide. So ISB is lucky to have her and very eager to have her get started, so she starts that new gig on Monday.
Thank you, Dr. Glickman. I think we still need a motion?
Nope.
No, we did it.
We did? Oh, we
Now it's
did?
gonna
Oh,
vote.
geez, I clearly.
You motioned, I
All right.
spoke, and now
Yes.
you're voting.
Thank you. Thank you. Just knock me on the side. Yeah, that's what I wanted. Okay.
Braden. Aye, with gratitude. Miller.
If I have to, aye. And I'm
Mac.
very excited for her.
Mac.
Aye, again with great thanks.
Albert.
Aye.
Weedman.
Aye.
And LaCroy.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Motion approved. Second, and as Dr. Glickman mentioned, I'm at the bottom of the list here, so I need a motion to approve the appointment of Vanessa Herrera Morales, Assistant Principal at Park Campus, as the part-time .4 FTE Interim Director of Multilingual Services effective February 17th, 2025, with an additional stipend at a rate of $2,000 per month until the end of the business day on June 30th, 2025.
So moved. I'll second.
Can you speak about that one as well?
Yes, please.
Thank you. So when that happened, when we got that news, literally that very day, I got in my car and drove over and talked to Mrs. Morales, who I knew and other cabinet members knew was absolutely the perfect person to take on this work. We are so grateful that she said yes. Of course, we know that this is, we ultimately need a full-time director of multilingual services. So Vanessa's going to be filling in 2 days a week, and we're just kind of gathering up and doing the rest of the work. And actually, thank you to Mrs. Gluck, who I know is doing some of the extra work. Indeed, we also need a full-time assistant principal at Park Campus, which we will not have. We'll have Mrs. Morales there 3 days a week. I'd like to very much thank Mr. Malamed, sitting next to Mrs. Morales there, who from the very beginning said, I'm excited for my teammate. I know she can do this work, and we will figure out how to fill those holes at Park. That also has meant we've had a bunch of district office administrators jump in to fill some of those roles, along with some staff members as well. So we're really excited, and board, you can see you're kind of post-voting because we had to get her started. We needed some time to do some transition work with Dr. Diaz. So I believe you've had 4 days on the job? 4 days. 4 very full days. Thank you very much for the hard work you've already done. Okay.
Thank you.
Miller.
Aye.
Braden. Aye. Mac.
Aye.
Albert.
Aye.
Weedman.
Aye.
And LaCroy.
Aye.
Motion approved. Congratulations. Thank you. Okay, now I need a motion to approve Dr. Jeff Prickett as the new Meadowview principal for the 2025-2026 school year.
I'll move.
I'll second.
And Dr. Wolk?
Good evening, everybody. I'm here to read a little bit about Dr. Prickett, and I'm going to turn it over to some of my colleagues who were on the interview panel with us to speak a little bit about Dr. Prickett. Dr. Jeff Prickett continually impressed the interview panels and clearly showed his ability to lead. Jeff will be joining Meadowview from McHenry High School District 156, where he served as principal for the past 8 years. Prior to that, Dr. Prickett was a middle school principal for 5 years and an elementary principal for 8 years. His extensive work and leadership with PLCs, SEL standards, special education, MTSS, and professional development helped him to stand out as our next instructional leader at Meadowview School. So now I'm going to turn it over to some of the Meadowview teachers who helped select Dr. Prickett.
We'd like to welcome Dr. Jeff Prickett to Meadowview and D46. We were impressed by his leadership experience and approach to leadership. His vision aligns so well with what we believe at Meadowview.
On behalf of Meadowview and the whole staff, we are excited to welcome Dr. Prickett. We are looking forward to starting this new journey with him and continuing the hard work that we do at Meadowview every day. Welcome, Dr. Prickett. We all look forward to the beginning of many great years together.
Can you give us a wave, a stand and a wave?
Now we make it official now.
Mack,
Aye.
Miller. Aye. Weedman.
Aye.
Albert. Aye. LaCroy.
Aye.
And Braden.
Aye.
Motion approved. Congratulations.
It's very exciting tonight because not only are we hiring the principal at Meadowview School, but we are also hiring our next director of operations, maintenance, and safety. Would like to welcome Jose Zires, who has served as director of facilities at Warren High School Township 121 for many years. Prior to his role as the director of facilities, he served as a facility manager, a maintenance lead, and electrician at Warren. Most recently, Jose has served as a construction superintendent for a firm specializing in school construction. Jose's extensive experience in his operations roles, along with his commitment to his team improvement, helped him stand out as the next director of operation, maintenance, and safety. Jose will be starting with us, pending board approval, March 17th, and working with current interim Steve Miller to get caught up to speed. Yes, so I'd like to bring up Jahira, as one of our O&M staff who helped select Mr. Ziers.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Jahira Alvarez, head custodian for Woodview School and from the Department Operations and Maintenance. We just here to say thank you. He was a very well candidate of what our team is looking for. He demonstrated leadership and what we were looking for in our team. So thank you for everything and hoping board approving. He will be our new boss.
All right, now here we go. I need a motion to approve Jose Zires as the Director of Operations, Maintenance, and Safety effective March 17th, 2025.
So moved. I'll second.
Okay.
Albert. Aye. Mack.
Aye.
Miller. Aye. Braden.
Aye.
LaCroy.
Aye.
And Weedman.
Aye.
Motion approved. Congratulations. Are we doing cake now?
Yes,
Okay,
cake break.
we're going to suspend again for cake. And for the members online, we're going to turn off the streaming for a moment. We'll be back. Where I was here, okay. Going back to the top. Okay, we can go ahead with the streaming again. Thank you. Okay, and we're back. And we're going to continue through the action items motions. So I'm going to go now down from the top of the list. I need a motion to approve the contract renewal for GSF nighttime custodial services for the 2025-26 school year.
I will make that motion.
I will second it.
Sorry. Weedman,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
Braden.
Aye.
LaCroy,
Aye.
and Albert.
Aye.
Okay, motion approved. I need a motion to approve the resolution authorizing the issuance of 3,015,000 taxable 2024 educational purposes tax anticipation warrants in anticipation of the collection of taxes levied for the year 2024 by the district for educational purposes and authorizing the sale of said warrants to Community Unit School District Number 95, Lake County, Illinois.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Yes, so it would be great if I could address all three of the agenda items in the board packets. So this agenda item, which is the resolution for the issuance of tax anticipation warrants. Then we have a following resolution which directs transfers from the working cash fund to the education fund. And then the third resolution is abating our taxes. So the board, through referendum process and afterwards, made a commitment that taxes that were increased through the levy of 2024 would be equally abated this year, so as not to increase them for taxpayers. For the abatement to be fully legal and accepted by Lake County, we must have the full abatement amount available in the education fund at the time of the resolution. All three resolutions together allow this to happen. Usually school districts that abate are doing so to give tax relief to taxpayers and have the necessary fund balance available. We are abating to keep a promise. We do not currently have the full amount, therefore borrowing part of it with tax anticipation warrants and the working cash loan to the education fund, the full amount is covered for the abatement legally. When we receive the tax increases in May and September, we will repay the tax anticipation warrants, and the inter-fund loan will be reversed. The deadline to file abatements at the county level is February 28th. Yes, by state statute.
So all this is to say, all this maneuvering was anticipated at the time. We knew that we were going to be doing the abatement to the extent that we didn't know exactly what the balance would be, but this is nothing that's new or unexpected.
It was anticipated that we would have to pass resolutions for this to happen.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Braden. Aye. Albert,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
and Weedman.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes. The second motion, I need a motion to approve a resolution directing the transfer of funds from the working cash fund of the district to the educational fund of the district in anticipation of the collection of taxes levied by the district for educational purposes for the year 2024, and that such monies so transferred to be reimbursed from such educational taxes upon their collection.
I'll move.
Second.
Okay.
Albert,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
Braden.
Aye.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
and Weedman.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Motion approved. I need a motion to approve the resolution transferring funds from the educational fund of the district to the bond fund of the district and abating taxes heretofore levied for the year 2024 to pay debt service on outstanding bonds of the district.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Okay?
Mack,
Aye.
Braden.
Aye.
Albert,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
LaCroy,
Aye.
and Weedman.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Motion approved. Next motion, I need a motion to approve the superintendent search firm BWP.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Can we have some
Yes.
discussion?
Yeah, I'm opening the discussion. Yep.
Okay, so I did a deeper dive into taking a look at BWP versus HYA and I was concerned because BWP does not offer, if I understand Christy correctly, they don't offer a strategic planning process for us. So what that means is we've got community engagement for sustainability right now. Then we've got a distinct community engagement process for the superintendent search, and then another community engagement process for strategic planning. And so I thought, how could we streamline this so that we can save ourselves some money and some time and get a more robust output? So Brandon, it's not Brandon. Daryl, could you put my slide up, please? Thank you. So for our discussion, I reached out to HYA and asked them about streamlining the process. And they did, and they sent us a proposal back, and this is what they suggested. That we would have 4 phases, and that they could combine those community engagement processes. So that we would have one process that then would give us direction both for hiring a superintendent and for doing strategic planning throughout this calendar. Just wanted to, for clarity's sake, I asked if they would switch phases 2 and 3 so that we would first hire a really good person and engage that person in strategic planning. So that's the only thing and they agreed that that would be possible. Okay, so I emailed you, and it's just too small to display, but I emailed you a look at the cost differential. And if we purchase services individually, it's more expensive than if we go with HYA and this streamlined process in money by about $4,000, assuming the rates stay very similar to what they've stayed in the past. So between $3,000 and $4,000, which isn't a crazy amount of money, but we are running an operational deficit. So I wanted just to find some way of saving the district a little bit of money. I think more importantly is that it saves us a pretty significant amount of time. If we use purchased services, if we do strategic planning and the soup search individually, and the time allotment is similar to what it's been in the past, we're talking about the board spending about 45 to 50 hours in this process, as opposed to about 8 hours if we do a streamlined version of this through HYA. Additionally, our staff, according to, again, some approximate estimations, spent about 42 hours on this process combined. No? Okay. And as compared to about 4 hours, what we would be asking for them if we streamline the process. I think that's significant, given that we're in contract negotiations right now. And then there's the community input as well. So I'm asking that we consider HYA because I think it's going to save us time, it's going to save us money, but even more importantly, I think we're going to get a little better, more robust deliverables from them. Part of what so I'm going to come back to costs in just a minute. I'm going to circle back to that. But part of their process involves 3 board development workshops. One is in decision-making, and then there's 2 others. And those are targeted directly to our specific context and our specific board. So I think that's going to give us a little bit more professional development than we've had in the past and save us time doing it and keeping it local. I also think they have a little wider reach. And so I think there may be some employees of the federal government that are out in the world right now looking for jobs from the Department of Education. I just think it would be nice to be able to talk with them, and I think HYA has a better reach for that. Going back to cost, in order to make this work, if you look at the email that I sent before with those calculations, the trade-off is III. So if we would need to, in order to realize those cost savings, we would need to forego III. And that's hard to swallow. We get a lot out of III, I think primarily in professional development and networking and time with staff as well. But I think we can mitigate those if we forego III for 1 year. In terms of professional development, those board development workshops, again, are going to be targeted to us and are going to help our 2 new board members on board with really specific training in our district with a new superintendent, which I think might be valuable. The second thing is, I know that there's a lot of relationship building that goes on at III. I think we can still get that through the Lake County divisional meetings if we all commit to going to them. So I think we would get that, we'd still get that over time. And then what I didn't know and what I would love if Dr. Glickman, if you would speak into this, what the impact on staff would be as we consider a streamlined process and not going to III. Does that sound right in terms of time? And then also in terms of being able to mitigate some of the trade-offs for III.
Sure. So to go back to the time piece for a moment, when we spoke a little bit about how much time staff spent on strategic planning when we did it the last time, which, as you remember, it was quite a few years ago. So we did the best we could to try to identify what that was. But that time included certainly all of the meetings that were a part of strategic planning. If I'm understanding correctly what this proposal is, it sounds to me like HYA is saying, while we are surveying the community regarding what the community is looking for in a new superintendent, we can also be surveying the community to feed the strategic planning process. But there would still need to be a robust strategic planning process. So I think there would be many, many more hours that would still be a part of strategic planning, which probably isn't folded into this proposal, right? Okay, yeah. As far as III goes, remember that III, it's a triple for a reason, right? It's the Illinois School Board Association, it's the IASA, which is the Superintendent's Association, and it's IASBO, which is the Business Association, Business Manager Association. So, we gain professional development through all 3 of those organizations when we go to III. So it would be a loss of not being able to have that professional development. And I think when we talk about networking, it's just networking in so many different ways. Sitting at this table right now, she's going to turn red when I say it, I'm looking at her, Amanda Pelser. We have Amanda Pelser sitting at the table because I networked with her and recruited her hard at III a few years ago, and here she is. So, those are the kinds of things that happen when we are all out there together. Okay. It's true. Talent like it is.
Okay, I was not part of the conversations for the board members who were considering the different companies because I was not able to attend. So I open the floor to my colleagues if there's additional comments that want to be made before the motion. Mrs. Albert?
I just want to stress how important I think our board's voice is at the delegate assembly at III. There are a lot of thoughtful discussions that go into that, and we determine our voice as a board, and then we are part of the vote at that assembly, and it's very meaningful. I think it's one of the most important jobs we have, to give direction to the IASB about how we feel as a board and have our district's voice represented. So I would not want to give that up. It's super important to me, for us.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily weighing the balance of the trade-offs here, but I guess I'm just going to give you my opinion, and it probably belies the way I operate, and you could ask my wife. I can't multitask very well. I prefer that we choose the firm that's best for the superintendent search, to do the superintendent search, and then serially move on to the next thing that we have to do. I do appreciate that there might be some savings in cost and perhaps in time, but I just think that we identified the firm that we think we want to do the superintendent search. It served us well in the past, and that's my position, is I'd like to move forward with the BWP nomination.
Yeah, I'll just add that, same, I want the best search firm, and I believe that's BWP for us for multiple reasons that we've discussed before. And by going down the route of choosing HYA for strategic planning, we eliminate all the other firms that we could look at for strategic planning. We artificially eliminate everybody else, and I don't want to do that. So I'll be voting for BWP tonight.
I got another thing.
Any additional comments?
Just thank you. Thank you for having
Thank
the
you for
discussion.
presenting. Appreciate that.
being able to hash it out together.
Okay.
Ready? Miller,
No, nay.
Albert,
Aye.
Braden. Aye. Mack,
Aye.
Weedman,
Aye.
and LaCroy.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Motion approved. Hold on. Okay. I need a motion to approve the purchase of Apple laptops for certified staff. Right, that's where I'm at? Yes, okay.
I'll move.
I'll second that.
Okay. You want to make a comment? Yep, sure. Yeah, go ahead. Oh, well. Yeah.
The one thing that I will say about this that is exciting, especially coming out of the sustainability work that we did, one of the lease payments for these devices is going to be paid for by the recycling of, I'm going to say, yeah, recycling of our current devices. So we're going to take that money and reinvest it in our new devices.
Thank you.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Albert,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
Braden. Aye. Weedman,
Aye.
and Miller.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion approved. And the last motion, we need a motion to approve the technology purchase Forward Edge battery backup system. I believe that was presented to us.
I'll move. I'll second.
Okay.
Braden. LaCroy,
Aye.
Albert,
Aye.
Weedman,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
and Mack.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Motion approved. That was the last of our motions. We do not have any unfinished business this evening. New business update to policy 7:100. Dr. Glickman?
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about that. So this is an update of our policy simply to chase our current practice and actually what we have in our student handbook. And this is related directly to when we exclude students if they have not completed the Illinois Department of Public Health examination form. So in other words, if we don't have the proper documentation about the vaccines and medical appointments. So according to the policy that we currently have posted, that date is October 15th. However, several years ago, we changed that, as we are permitted to do by the state of Illinois, as long as we put certain structures in place, which we have, such as notifying parents ahead of time. We're allowed to move that to the first day of school. And we did that a few years ago, and it's actually really supported having kids in class, because what was happening is when the exclusion date was October 15th, families that were having trouble scheduling doctor's appointments could just kind of put that off a little bit. School would get started, and perhaps the urgency of the matter would get lost. And here we would be nearing October 15th, letting families know, you need to do it, you need to do it. People wouldn't do it. And on the 15th, we would have to exclude many, many, many students. It was hard, really hard. When we moved it to the start of the school year, that's a time when people are a little bit more engaged, thinking about school is starting, what do I have to do? And if what I have to do is make a doctor's appointment for my child, I'm going to do that. And so it made an enormous difference. So it just turned out that we had never actually changed our board policy, and we've just recognized that, and so we want to change the board policy to match what we were actually already doing. Any questions about that, board? Okay.
Thank you. That brings us to topics for future agenda items. Back to you.
Yep, that's me again. Okay. So March 19th, we will, so again, on the 19th of March, we'll be having a sustainability task force at 5 p.m., which means we will again have a conversation with that task force at the board meeting. The multilingual PDT will be bringing a recommendation about revisions to our multilingual services. We'll also have a presentation from Organic Life, that's our food service company, sharing that this is our first year with that company, and they'll be sharing information with you about how that's been going, and you'll be able to ask questions of them. Dr. Chris Woke will come with a preliminary staffing plan for the 25-26 school year. Back to tonight's presentations, we'll be bringing back that math resource approval, everything that Amy Gluck shared with you. We'll also bring that policy back to you for approval, the one that I just talked about. And then we have two discussions. One is in, Wold Architects engagement. So that will be a discussion for upcoming work, along with GHA, a contract renewal discussion. So that will happen on March 19th. April 9th, it's possible that we could have a policy committee meeting. It depends on whether or not we have a press update by then, and we don't know. If we do, then we'll also have policy discussion at the board meeting. GMS students will be coming and presenting to you, board, and also sitting at the board table, just like we had the pleasure of having tonight with Park. We have staff members coming to present about Evolve, which is a social emotional learning program that we have going on at Frederick, right here, at Park and at GMS. So staff members will be sharing information along with some of the practitioners from the Evolve organization that we work with. Dr. Wilk will come back with the staffing plan again, and also put information about non-renewals, student staff non-renewals if we have any of those. And then we'll ask for approvals for GHA enrolled. And then moving forward to April 23rd, we have the Park Wolves coming back again. We will have a sustainability discussion again on April 23rd, because we will have had a 5 o'clock sustainability task force. We're going to be seating new board members, which means we're saying goodbye to some board members, aren't we? We don't want to talk about that. And then we're planning to hire two new administrators, a new assistant principal for Grays Lake Middle School, and the new director of multilingual services for the 25-26 school year. And that brings us to May, and I'm not going that far right now.
Very good. Thank you very much.
You bet.
Excellent. Do we have any public comments down there, Dr. Wolf?
No.
No. Okay. All right. So we do need to go into closed session this evening, so I'm going to adjourn the meeting into closed session. We don't anticipate any additional business to come out after closed session, so we will adjourn completely from there. We do need to take a picture with our high school guests before they leave. So I need a motion to enter into closed session in accordance with Illinois Public Act 5 ILCS 120/2, paragraph C2, collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Okay?
LaCroix,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye?
Albert,
Aye.
Weedman,
Aye.
and Braden.
Aye.
Okay, we are going into closed session. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening. You guys come on up for a photo here.